Hello YouTube, today we talk about Leonide, which is another Sword of Convallaria unit that has been requested from the comments, and I'm very happy to talk about it. I will have a more colloquial approach from now on because I think it's more fun, but of course I will help you understand all the maths behind it and all the mechanics. Sit tight and let's begin. About Leonide, we have two possible main builds. I made three here just to think about the character. And the one is a tanky one that is mostly based on passive skills, and the other is an active one that is focused on the charge. So let's start from the talent that also talks about the charge build. So you have up to 8% damage bonus per square move. So for instance, if you move for 5 squares, you have a 40% damage increase, which is huge. Ignoring up to 10% of the target defense, gain up to 30% charge damage reduction for up to 2 turns. So it means you also have benefits for the following turn. So this talent is also useful to tank besides doing damage. 5 or more square. At level 5 you also ignore block and dodge. So basically you have a burst of damage that comes from your charge. It's very fun. How do you build the bursty combos? I call it the Impaler because it just goes there with the lance to devastate you. And how does it work? So the skills I chose are just buff skills. One is Assault Stance cooldown. Instant skill, move 2 squares straight. You have attack plus 15% and you can attack. And after the attack you can continue your turn. So you have basically 2 attacks, so it's more damage. I don't know what means changes in assault release, we will check. If you have information about this keyword, please submit, because I don't, and the internet doesn't. And then we have, of course, the ultimate skill that has the longest cooldown ever, and only 1 energy point as a cost, and it's at 100% attack healing before attacking. Dispel 2 debuffs on you, so you prepare, then you charge up to 3 squares, 100% attack damage, plus you add 35% of your HP to the damage, up to 200% physical attack. So these are huge bursts of damage if you can charge a lot. I need to understand if you can stack charge squares, but I think you can if you chain abilities. For instance, you have Charge and Pursuit, which is an instant charge, 30% physical damage, and you don't trigger preemptive attack against you. So I think you can do Charge and Pursuit, and then you activate Glorious Lance Charge after that, but I still have to understand how you can traverse 5 squares all of a sudden, because when you do Charge and Pursuit, you already hit the enemy, because you charge there and you hit. So how do you, maybe you move again, and then you charge again, and you have all the stacks on. 5 stacks is damage, is huge. If you want to try the combo, please do, and pause. You can pause the gameplay video about it. If I drop the character, I will do. So this is a very fun build. You charge, yeah, so how does it work? You enter the field, you pop all your charge skills, and you basically delete one of the enemies in PvP. And in PvM you can do that against a boss or against a very bulky opponent. Now let's talk about, so the basic attack doesn't matter much in this build. Now let's talk about the bulky build. The first notable skill is Light of Shelter. It's an instant that heals 25% if a character is damaged, but if it's healthy, it's damage 2, magic defense 2, which means 20% damage and 40% magic defense for 2 rounds. That's very strong, especially because you have this normal attack that gives you 1 energy on hit, so you have 2 energy per round, and you can use it more, because this one doesn't have a cooldown, so it's a very strong support ability. Keep in mind. For PvM mostly, but it's strong. Stay alert, 2 skill points, which is called energy in this game. 2 squares, 150% physical range, damage, so you have a very good alert. I don't know why there is this image and the squares are 2, but anyways, it's 2 square radius for 150% physical damage, because you have a lance, so you can hit in range. And it's a very fun build. If you use the defensive one, you probably won't stay alert. You ignore those, you can even ignore the ultimate if you want, and I will show you the build. So the other one is parry. Parry is a melee. If you get a melee physical attack, you face the opponent and you have plus 20% of your attack to your defense. So you use your attack to defend for an extra buff. Then you have, and it's a passive, so it's always up. This is why it's good. When it comes to reactions, you have this one that is not translated well. If you get an active attack and you have minus 8% damage, but if you are injured, you have minus 20, which is a big plus. You can have Radiant Guard, which means that you have 15% more HP that you can add to various combos if you want, but it's not needed. But the important part is that you are immune to injured, so you can stay in the injured mode to reduce damage. This is more of a PvM build because if you are down in HP, maybe in PvP there's something that can basically delete you regardless. But I like it, it's a very tanky build. Then you have this very weird range like a forest, and it buffs forest formation unit. I don't know what it means, we need to check. But for himself, 10% attack, 20% defense, and the cooldown is -1. This is good for the lance build because the cooldowns are very high. And what else? The passive build, I call it Mortal Tank. You have Stay Alert, Shelter, Parry. This one is also a damage reduction and energy restoring basic. Other things I can talk about, Keep the Oath, is choose square radius, take the damage skill. It can be interesting if you have some tactics in PvP or PvM that is based on not taking damage on certain characters, maybe they're very fragile. You sacrifice this and then you delete the opponent. That's actually a possibility. It's a reaction with a cooldown, so it activates regardless and then goes on cooldown. But you can move your characters as a duo or a formation, and you basically have one that can be hit, which is interesting because maybe this allows you to take 2 hits from the opponent, and if you take 2 hits, then you can retaliate with the character that survived and deal massive amount of damage if you're in range. So this is a possibility in PvP, it needs to be tested. PvM is just the tanky, Keep the Oath, heroic thing. I think it's fun. You also have Preemptive Strike, so you can counter attack. You use this instead of this for the tanky build. You can definitely do that. I forgot to talk about Breaking the Light, it's probably not the right translation. It's a deny dodge for 1 round, so it's made to cripple Thieves unit, and that's it. I think Energy Back is stronger in PvM, that's for sure. In PvP, this can be useful if a unit is spamming dodge. They have a night build that uses the full on charge that has shorter cooldown and a very similar effect than the charge. Also, full on charge has DC 1 round on the target, which means that the enemy doesn't act. And I think this is the strongest ability in PvP. Because if you stun an enemy, it means that's out of the round, which makes the units extremely fragile to your attacks. So full launch charge, it's a base skill rank 0, like at the beginning of the game. It's super strong. First of all, it's a charge, deals good damage, knocks back, can be useful to knock the enemy into tricky squares. And DTC means that he's not going to do anything. It's great. Imagine if you throw the enemy into fire or just disable it and then snipe it. Strong. This skill is super fun in PvP. You can use it in PvM too, of course, because it deals damage and it's fast. I would use it in this build. At the very least, you need this basic attack. So yeah, you have this build which is like Lamp with Radiant Guard and a Soul Stance to move and then deal damage. You ignore the ulti, but you deal damage with this one and you recharge faster, so it's more of a sustained DPS build. So basically, to recap, he can be a tank, but he can be a DPS, and both a burst DPS or a sustained DPS. So surprisingly enough, Mr. Leonide is a very flexible unit and a unit I would play because it seems very fun. Now, let's look at the animations, because it's the last part of the guide that I like to include. Knockback 1, that could be many skills, probably the Radiant Guard. Hit 2, is this the alert? He can hit 2 enemies at the same time? Maybe charge hits all the enemies. I need to check this one. And the big charge is this one. Yeah. Okay, he pushed the enemy against the other, so that's damage. Also, it could be push damage on both. Oh no, this is the epic charge. Okay. Okay. Let's rewatch. So, push and lance. This lance damage. I need to check which is which. And ultimate ability. Big damage. Okay. Yeah, alright, the animations are pretty good, but what I like the most is the kit. I like this face though, when he charges light. That's everything for Leonide. I hope you enjoyed. If you have any question, feel free to, of course, ask in the comments. This is Nero Atlas with Leonide Guide, a character that really surprised me, and I wish it surprised you too if you have it. Bye bye, I'm signing out.